Great. Listen, but firstly, if you don't mind, I am recording this as well, so it's recorded.
Okay.
If that's okay with you. But I wanted to firstly get an idea. Who's Andrew from Millennium? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I set this business up about 24, 25 years ago, very much in a similar environment that we're in now, as a one-man band working from home, straight from university, having done a degree in estate management. Did a little bit of commercial surveying for a few months and found I preferred the residential sector, and luckily got into a market that's just proliferated beyond all expectation really at the right time. Wolverhampton, very much classed as a city now, but it's really a town, so knowing everyone.
Very small, isn't it? Very, very small, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So built some great contacts, had a lot of people help me who I knew from sort of professional background, social background. And I think we were one of the first or the first sole letting agent in the area.
Okay.
So moved into the city centre, then moved out to Tetnall, which is a sort of exclusive suburb of Wolverhampton on the west side there. And as I say, business has grown from there really. Quite funnily at the moment, I keep having flashbacks to how it was when I worked on my own, because I only me here. But yeah, it was a great sector to get into. And as I say, we sort of developed links with, I mean, we're very lucky. When we first started, there was a lady who was a friend of mine, who was one of the directors of Wolves, Rachel Hayo Flint, who's now sadly passed away, the England cricketer.
Right.
She knew all the people locally, so she got us in with obviously the Wolves, also Goodyear's, a lot of big blue chip companies.
Of course, Goodyear, really long-standing sponsorship there, wasn't it?
Yeah, so they used to own a hell of a lot of property in Wolverhampton.
Right.
And staff stopped coming over from the States. They wanted people to tenant them, so we got in with Richard Viggers, who was the property manager there and used to look after a lot of their properties. Got in with Banks's, who used to own a lot of properties as well, and it really worked from there. And obviously now times have changed massively because there's so much investment in Wolverhampton, new companies, I-54, Science Park. I mean, we've talked about quite a few different companies as well. I mean, there's a lot of other investors and different sources of tenants, like the New Cross, for example. That's got one of the biggest cardiac.
That's the hospital, isn't it?
Yeah, one of the highest regarded medical and cardiac surgery places there. So the amount of staff they're bringing in, we've had an Italian guy who's a senior cardiologist, another guy who's come, and of course they all rent in the city, you know.
Of course they do.
So yeah, it's great that the university here, last year it was voted the worst in the country. Which is great for business to gain.
How has that worked? I mean, what happens when your university is voted worse in the country? What happens then?
I think they bring a whole new workforce in. That's what I found. Yeah. So we've had loads of new staff coming from, some from London who live here just during the week, go back at the weekend. Had people from Scandinavian client recently. There's people who come, you know, new sort of. Not sort of deans there, but senior staff behind the scenes. They've completely shook it all up, and of course thrown money at it, put new staff in, and again they've all moved here to rent. So it's been, as I say, another positive for the city that perhaps initially people would have viewed as a negative, but you know. Well,
it's about how you take things, isn't it? I've worked a lot in Birmingham over the last few years, and one of the really interesting points has come out of you know, my networks and my connections in Birmingham. One of the guys that I work with there, David Yellerly, he explained to us how Birmingham over the last 15, 20 years has, you know, invested into its university and started there. That's you know, the conversation was had at council level. How do we get a younger demographic in? How do we invigorate the you know, the local population? You invest heavily into the university, and that starts, you get better university, better quality students in, and then, you know, that then filters out to the wider economy. So you get, you know, part-time jobs, sales jobs, you know, retail jobs, cafes. All that feeds off the young population, and then it comes back in. You know, it's a long-term plan. So Wolverhampton's at the very start of that, we would probably say. Yeah,
it's a good time to get in, really. I mean, there's schemes like that, and we find all sorts of people. I mean, where I am in Tetnall, Tetnall College, they have a lot of Chinese students, for example, and pupils who come over here. Quite a lot of them then decide, right, I don't want to go back and get a career, stay here. And as you say, they're doing as you just said. I mean, we've even had clients.
They grow roots in the area, don't they? And they, you know, they make friends there. They work, and you know, it's you get a decent bit of retention nowadays.
Yeah, you do, definitely. I mean, and there's a lot of big jobs around here. I mean, Jaguar Land Rover invested actively in the area, in the I-54. There's Atlas Copco there, there's the big aerospace companies. Obviously, a little bit down the road in Telford, you've got Denso, Ricoh, Capgemini. They're all massive employers.
Wow, yeah.
So there is area for advancing their careers, as well as friendships that they've developed over the years there. So there's, as I say, quite a lot of opportunities for people. I mean, one of the things we touched on when we spoke previously is this new West Side development, which is one of the things that's missing from Wolverhampton city centre. It's not a place you choose to move to for social, vibrant restaurants, that sort of lifestyle. People who are moving here solely for career and professional advancement, really, whether it's, as I say, in NHS circles, corporate business, whatever it may be. So when this West Side develops, that's going to have a complete change on things, because as you say, there's restaurants, cafes opening, a large draw to people. So
from what I've read on it, it's a £55 million development, which is going to be like you say, restaurants, bars, cinema, shopping, social, pedestrianised. It's going to bring in a lot more footfall to the area, which is what it really needs. The city centre.
Yeah, they did a similar scheme in Telford called Southside, I think that was called, and the change it's had there. You know, there's all sort of restaurants opened up, Miller and Carter, TGI's. They're really busy. Yeah. Cineworld there, and all the shops. It's had a real sort of draw to people. Unfortunately, people from Wolverhampton started going shopping there, socialising there. And of course, when they've opened up in Wolverhampton,
it will draw everyone back.
I
know exactly the type of thing you mean. I was up in sorry to cut you off. I was up in Sheffield. My daughter was singing in a Young Voices choir at the Sheffield Arena, and outside the arena, which is a little bit outside the city centre, they have this massive, complex, which is exactly that: Miller and Carter Steakhouse and Wagamama's and all this, all these big name restaurant brands, and a huge cinema. And it was full. That was on I think it was a Thursday night. And it was absolutely teeming. It was really, really hustling and bustling. So it's that exact same sort of idea that's coming to Wolverhampton. Good.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of investments in the Midlands. I mean, going back to Birmingham, I've got a lot of friends and contacts over there, and of course, there's been a lot of development in the city centre. How this will continue now, I don't know. But there's a lot of investment with Chinese investors over there.
Yeah.
And similarly, in Wolverhampton with the football club, that's obviously has been a massive investment there. There's obviously all the playing staff, the coaches, the managers. There's sort of marketing staff from Mexico, from Portugal, all coming in. They're of course all renting. Equally, they're now talking of developing the stadium. So that's going to bring in more jobs again. They're going to be here project managing, and so there's a lot of investments into the city centre at the moment, which can only be good, really.
Can only be good. And things like the football club, a lot of people don't take into account just how many people a football club like this will employ. And if you're, at the top ends of the league, as Wanderers are at the moment, if it ever continues, that is, we're talking about Premier League football, which is one of the most viewed in the world. They're at the top end of that, and they're also in Europe at the moment. So that generates a lot of income. And therefore, you need to staff it. You need to expand the marketing. The marketing department, for example, the accounts department. Everything needs a little bit more of an expansion.
Well, that's the investment in the academy, the training ground, brings in all sorts of staff. Of course, that they all rent. People in the background. It's absolutely one of the biggest employers in the area. And the unique thing about Wolverhampton, being a small city, of course, the majority. 99% of them all live in the area. If it was London or whatever, it'd all be spread about. But They're all living in the area, all investing in the community. So it's great for the local economy. You know,
Super.
really, that's a good, the good plus really of the investment in the area.
Well, that's basically what we want to get an idea of. I mean, as you know, we've spoken a couple of times, but for the sake of the recording here, I mean, we're working with a developer who's building on the old Telecoms House development, so the old telephone exchange at the sort of south side of the city centre, just within the ring road. I don't know if you can hear me properly. So
yes, I'm familiar with the building and the area. Yeah.
So it's 144 apartments that we're bringing to market, I would say, by the end of by the middle of summer next year, and they're 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. And right now, from what I can see, within the city centre, there just isn't that much of a comparable. There isn't a huge amount of high-end, decent to high-end quality apartments coming to the market at the moment. So you've been in the local area for quite some time. You probably know every building has seen all the changes and seen all the new things come in and what's worked and what hasn't worked. And it's the changes in the local economy that we're interested in. It's about who's the demand, and we've already talked about who the employers are, but what is the demand like? I mean, what's the demographic? Are we talking about young people exclusively? Are we talking about doctors and key workers, medical staff? It's just a mixture of the lot, isn't it?
Yeah, there is a real mixture. I mean, it's a fairly newish thing to Wolverhampton city centre. I mean, there's a development done by Redrow probably 15 years ago near the train station, and the plan then was to turn into sort of Brindley Place in Birmingham, but the investments into the infrastructure in the area didn't happen.
Right.
And subsequently that developments, a lot of doctors there, a lot of people commute to Birmingham by the train station, whatever. This project that you're talking about is going to be right by this new West Side development.
Yes.
There's also been the new Sainsbury's development there. There's a new gym open. So it's a slightly different area in that there is already investments in the infrastructure, which there wasn't there. The type of people who are going to be renting there, obviously there's young people there that are probably the most mobile with their job, and people have to move, don't they, globally. Never ceases to amaze me. We've got clients here who went from us from Jerusalem, Hawaii, all around the world.
Wow.
What a short straw to pick to come and move to
from Hawaii to Wolverhampton. I don't know, there's not a huge...
your career advancement, whatever. So, people do move globally. And you also get, of course, more mature people, people who perhaps the amount of clients we've got who've got family and middle-aged, and they've got family either in London, Spain, wherever, and they're just here during the week. We have a lot of clients at that ilk. More mature people as well. I mentioned the university. I mean, a couple of the senior staff there are actually grandparents. They come down here 2 or 3 days a week, rent a property, go back at the weekend.
Wow.
In capacity. So you get a lot of that. Of course, not just unique to Wolverhampton, but in apartments, renting. Sadly, divorce statistics, we all know what they are. So you get a lot of people renting for that reason. And of course, perhaps they want to start enjoying life and socialising again. So city centre living is quite appealing for people of that age. So, you get a huge variety of demand from all sources, really. And the key thing I always find with a development like this is to make sure you get a consistent quality of tenant.
Yep.
Because you get one agent who perhaps introduces the wrong type of client, it's detrimental to the whole development. You've got, some blue chip companies renting it, some graduates from this company, that, all professional people, and then you've got a couple of tenants who aren't fitting in. Of course, the good tenants are going to move out, and it's all going to have a detrimental impact. So for any investors, the key thing is quality of tenant. There's more people looking to rent than ever, but the skill, of course, filtering through the week from the staff.
So what if you don't mind, don't give away any trade secrets, but what's your filtration process when you're talking about tenanting, when you're finding tenants? What do you look for?
Well, a lot of our clients are from corporate contracts. We've got contacts that we developed over 2 decades, with people as diverse as as I say, firms like Ricoh to the Ministry of Defence, all of which bring staff in. There's also a lot of relocation agents that companies employ. And obviously we've got arrangement with them. So when they have a member of staff, whether it be a senior MD or just a graduate, they get in touch and we're sourcing properties for them from long established relations. Of course, you've got all your normal marketing, which we have, but I think solely doing letting and for 20 odd years doing so, we've learned to sort of filter through and have a network as well that enables us to access perhaps a wide scope, but filter out the wrong type of clients, as it were. And only doing lettings as well, we know our reputation standards and falls by that in a small city like Wolverhampton. So we're very discerning who we put into properties, and your reputation is key, really. So yes, that's at the forefront of all our marketing. And as I say, that combined with the contacts we have, it sort of pays dividends for us, and equally any landlords and investors that we're dealing with as well.
Okay. So what you're saying is you invest heavily into or be very, very diligent with the quality of tenant that you're putting in. That's going to bode well for the tenancy contract. That's going to make a happy landlord, and therefore much more return custom. That's what always about. And if you're in an economy that is growing, there are more and more jobs being created. There are more and more sort of almost a burgeoning middle class that are renting and moving into the area. It's definitely all signs point very, very positive to being able to fill any quality units that are in the city.
Yeah. I mean, the only similar sort of couple of developments that have started I think it's called the Studio 24. But that's more studio living. They're almost like a hotel rooms.
Right.
And they've developed that on a floor-by-floor basis. Again, it used to be a commercial building, slightly different setup to here. But I think the whole thing is pretty much developed. You've got such a variety of tenants. You've got lawyers who are here a few days a week from London, IT consultants, pantomime stars, and people with theatre. Such a diversity of people living there. But what they've done on that site is they've developed one floor, filled it, moved on to the next.
Right, I see. Okay.
And that's been very popular on the take-up. As I say, slightly different in that it's serviced accommodation, all including bills, and but it's proved very popular. I think we mentioned in one of our other conversations as well, another commercial unit, the Belvedere residence in Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
Again, they've decided to let a number of those out. Huge diversity of people moving in there. I mean, last week I think we had a couple of doctors moving in there, which we're tending to try and move in this, pandemic crisis at the moment. Again, there's all sorts of professional people in there. There's been a few elderly people moving there, young professionals, but yeah, it's again proved very popular. But obviously that's available now. We're projecting to next summer, when hopefully things will be in a better place. Certainly in the price at the moment.
That's the next question I was going to ask you. What's business been like? What is your day-to-day now during this pandemic, during this lockdown? What's happening? Are people moving house? Are people letting? What's the latest?
There's less people moving house. Mm-hmm. A lot of planned moves are being deferred until lockdown rules are lifted, really. We're still doing a few movings, mainly. I think last week we moved 4 doctors who were moving to the area. One from Middlesbrough, one from Spain, a couple within the UK as well. So obviously they're essential moves. New inquiries, we're trying to sort of stockpile, get everything in place. So as soon as everything's sort of...
So the phone's still ringing then? The phone's still ringing and people are...
People's point of view, I think some of them perhaps a little bit bored and not taking the lockdown seriously. I think as soon as everything's back, a lot of people will have pulled out of sales, perhaps not be in a position to buy as they were before. Had a conversation earlier, someone's been saving to buy for a long time, now not in a position to do so. So the rental market, I think, will be really stimulated. Buy to let will probably be less buoyant than it has been. So those people who are buying to let will find it's a less competitive marketplace, but with more demand, which will obviously kind of be a plus really for investors. So
absolutely. I mean, we found that after any sort of event like this, whether it's the recession, whether it's the global crash 10, 12 years ago, the rental market absolutely flourishes afterwards, because where like you've just said, a lot of those people who were about to buy can't now buy, or people have lost jobs, or contracts have changed, etc., etc. So all that does is bring more people to the rental market again, and so we're expecting to see a typical further flourish into the rental market going forward after this.
Yeah, and I think a lot of companies as well will be keen to employ people on perhaps just common for a year or two rather than a permanent thing. And of course, they're therefore even more people are just going to have to rent, because you're not going to move somewhere for a year's contract or whatever and buy. So yeah, I think both ends will stimulate the rental market. So when we're through this, it'll be busy times. So
good. Okay. Well, I mean, I think across the board, we've been in a position where it was all on the rise prior to this happening, and all that's going to happen after this lockdown, and when people start going back to normal, getting back to as much normal as possible. Yes, you're going to see a lot more inquiries come through. I would imagine, where contracts are coming in, football gets back to normal, tourism gets back to normal. People shopping, moving around. It's just it's just going to be hopefully a sort of invigorated system again.
Yeah, it will be. And sadly, I think one statistic is couples who've been stuck at home together and have decided they can't get on, and they'll be moving out and renting. We're having a lot of inquiries.
That's one way to stimulate the rental market there. Yeah, it's going to be a demographic. I'm pretty sure, I'll do it for the sake of the video, but this is my office, by the way, guys. It's also doubled up as the playroom. So it's been an interesting time trying to work from home. It's a real challenge, but one that we're taking on. I'm at the end of my 5th week now at home, so I took maybe a week, 10 days more than most, and we're getting through. Looking forward to getting back into the Mayfair office at the moment, to be honest. Yeah. But it's it is what it is. We've got to take our time. We've got to be safe. We've got to keep our families and everybody safe as much as possible, and do what we're told, I think, for a while.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad we can help a little bit with some of the NHS stuff that we're moving, and I just think we all need to stay home, do our bits, and try and get through as soon as we can, definitely.
Brilliant. Andrew, listen, I'm going to let you go, get back to your day. But thank you so much for taking the time to get in touch with us. Guys, what I want to finish on is that one of the things that Andrew said there is about the quality of tenant. So when you're looking for buy to let, instead of putting that on yourself and looking, and trying to vet and do what you can to get the best possible tenant in, it's about using a company like Millennium. It's about using somebody like Andrew with 20-25 years of experience into the market. This is how you vet your tenants better. This is how you get the best possible networks to be able to fill your properties. So I'm happy to have met you. We're looking forward to doing a lot of work together by middle of next summer. And if there's anything that we can do in the meantime, please do let us know.
Yeah, super. Well, you and your family keep safe. Look forward to speaking in this manner, and hopefully in better times we can speak face to face and progress things from there.
Absolutely. I really look forward to it. Thanks again. Have a great weekend as well.
Yeah, you too. And,
cheers, Andrew.
Of course. Thanks again. Okay.
Lovely. Take care now, mate. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.